Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully, all is well with everyone. So, this is going to be kind of the format. We're starting off this year with Elder Almond and myself every second Saturday, which was yesterday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time. We're going to make it a point to come on here, not publicly, but it will be uploaded for persons who are interested in having some of these questions asked, etc., and things that we can go to and look at, and even will be on Patreon pretty much right away. So we want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. So if there is something that you discuss, or there is a question, comment, or concern about something, go as personal as you feel you're okay with in that regard. And if you need to go even further, of course, you can talk to myself or minister on staff or whatever the case might be. So we want it to be a safe place and let you know even what's going on with all the different things that are there. So that being said, we'll go ahead and say our Bible pledge. And we'll jump right in. We give our honor and praise once again to Yahweh. We give our praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Alma, who lives a life that's able to be honored, to each and every one of you. We're appreciative of you if you're watching this live or watching this later on. Thank you so much for those who got this, and even for those of you who might have found this on Patreon, whatever the case might be. We are going to make this something that you can find there. So getting back into getting into tonight's conversation, and just one announcement besides the fact that we have tomorrow early rise of Bible study session at 6:30 a.m. New York time. Please, ma'am, please, sir. I tried to even make sure as much as I could to text also, but you should. I went over, I double checked, triple checked, quadruple checked. The forms to fill out for all the stuff should be on all social media. They should have been in Google Calendar invites as far as emails for quite some time now for those that are on our list. So if you have an opportunity, please fill those forms out ASAP. We would like to utilize that as soon as possible so we can start giving you guys official, information, especially for Passover, and really, especially more so than anything else, for the Bible Museum meetup, so we can make sure that we get all that stuff in order and we know pricing, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So, so this is basically, we went over yesterday for those who were with us. If you weren't with us yesterday evening, we went, and that's recorded as well. By the way, you can go on our YouTube channel. We'll have a playlist called Marital Session, so you can go on YouTube and catch up with anything that you miss, or years later go there. But basically, we talked about the selection process, right? When it comes to marriage, how does one select who they're going to be with, what should be there, what should we should be looking for, what are some things, even with those who have gone through the selection process or who have selected a husband, wife, etc. What are some things that we still can make sure that we're doing and honoring the word of Yah, making sure that we go through those things. So we answered a few questions, I think like the last 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so of the session. But as I said, tonight is basically more Q&A. So if there's anything you guys would like to go through further or talk about, or even if you want to try to go somewhere else with it, I guess we can. Just always keep in the back of your mind. We'll be doing this throughout the year. But if you want to get something kind of, you need to answer right away, whatever the case might be, this is a different type of platform where we can kind of double down on the teachings. So with that being said, does anybody have anything to start us off with? Or I guess I can just go, but does anybody have anything to start us off with, as far as yesterday, as far as selection process, as far as questions that we might have gotten to a little bit, but maybe couldn't get into all the way? Maybe there's something you'd like to voice versus something that you could only type a limited amount of characters. But whoever feels free to, whether you'd like to say it out loud or put it in the chat or whatever, feel free to take the lead, so to speak. Somebody like to go? Oh, Dr. T. Come on.
So I just wanted to touch on something you talked about yesterday. It was the wedding ring, or the dowry. And so for me, and y'all know me, I'm putting my business out there. Everybody knows I've been married twice. And now Coleman and I are courting. And so we're like moving forward, and it's been great. But the thing is that my thing is, when it comes to dowry, right? I'm not, I could care less for a ring. Like, literally, in my first marriage, I had 2 rings. I had the ring that I got married with when we first got married, and it was a beautiful ring. It was beautiful, like big, beautiful. And then the second ring I had in the 10-year mark was even bigger than that. And then I got married a second time, and I got a ring that was like all my rings. Anybody looked at it like, "Oh my goodness, girl, your ring is so bad," and whatever, whatever. But just as they saw the ring as bad as in looking good, whatever, big, blah blah blah. That's how bad my marriages were too. So it was like, um, so the dowry for me needs to be something, and this is what you touched on last night. It needs to be something of worth. It needs to be something of value. It has to express a sacrifice. Um, and so I'm not gonna talk about what I asked for. Just know that he's willing to give it to me, but I'm different. So I, just, but yeah. So the dowry, just touching on. So I'm saying something, but I want you to touch on it a little bit more because I'm like, I'm grateful to have somebody that's willing to give what I told you how, but they would have to come with and be willing to give me. Um, but what are some things that as women we can look at and say, no, that's a suitable dowry?
Okay, amen. So the dowry, so that part is something I guess if you and your spouse or whatever, because if we were coming from something culturally specifically, like, and we're talking about the tradition, the giving of it, the practice of it, etc. The dowry is more so something that's given to the family more so than to the wife. So if there's something that a wife says, in order for me to feel comfortable, to feel secure, I need something from you, that's not necessarily a dowry. As far as biblically speaking, I get the reference point though. So if we're talking about what a wife would need, so I'm going to make a distinction. If we're talking dowry, a dowry is like, okay, let's say somebody's coming to marry my daughter, and they say, okay, Pastor Kofi, your daughter's beautiful, blah, blah, all this stuff, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, 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 okay, we need to discuss, you know, terms, because I need to know you can take care of my daughter. Like, like I'm not gonna be that, you know, kind of cold, but to be honest, it's gonna come a point where it's gonna be like, okay, I need you to for me, I need you to show me something that shows you can actually secure my daughter. Doesn't have to be that you're rich, even if you're not making as much money as whatever. It can be something as simple as, like, let's talk about your vision. Like, I'm very close. There's been a suitor that I've actually dealt with already with my oldest daughter, and so, like, when they came and saying all this stuff or whatever, and she was all happy, and they came to me and they were, telling me all this stuff, and I was just like, okay, what do you got? Because they neither one was telling me, and she knew better, so she got quiet. But during the conversation with us, like, I was like, you guys aren't telling me anything about vision, about mission. I'm glad that you pick up your Bible, son, and all that stuff, and that's great. But I'm wondering what's going to happen. Like, what's the plan for your children? What's the plan for your grandchildren? Like, it just sounds like you like each other a lot, which is great, but there's gonna be days you don't like each other and stuff. Like, where is the security provided for her? And even on the flip side, I was telling her, like, you know, when you guys are having bad days, what are you dedicated to be faithful to being submitted to the mission that Yah has given your husband? But the dowry piece, if we're talking about the custom, so to speak, of the dowry is actually something that's more so designed to be like, hey, I can, not only does your daughter have value, but I'm showing you that myself or my family or my vision even is something that shows that your daughter will be taken care of. That's really like the purpose of the dowry. Now, if we're talking about, like, what are some things that a wife or a woman or a wife, really, right? He who finds a wife. So a wife should be looking for a husband, those are things that, once again, if we're talking culturally, I have to go back culturally always. So I'm going to start there. If, first things first, it's something that, yeah, she should have some things that she wants, because the husband is supposed to go and prepare a place for his wife. So those are things that should be talked about. But once again, the community aspect, the family aspect, what are we doing as a community? What are things that we know that she needs, etc.? What are some things that her mother might be saying, like, she's going to need this? Her father might be saying she's going to need this. But if we're going past that, I mean, yeah, if there's something you're saying, like, hey, now, once again, I always feel like Holy Spirit led, because Holy Spirit's going to be the one. And even if I can just take a break, put a pin in it too. When I was talking about the wedding ring and stuff like that too, I'm in total agreement with that. That's why when we were talking about the wedding ring, and I know you know this, I'm just making it clear. The wedding ring, when I was talking about the dowry yesterday, I was saying that's really the point of the wedding ring, even though it's a different cultural outlook of it, the wedding ring kind of materialized. And I know somebody will say, well, it comes from Rome and this tradition and this custom, which is kind of sort of in the ballpark. But I'm talking about as far as why it's become what it's become is really, it's kind of taking the place of the dowry. If my wife and I can go back, to be honest, and she said it at live session, so I'm not saying anything that she hasn't said. um, Even the wedding, which we spent a lot on, wedding rings, spent a lot on different things like that. We would have definitely thought things differently because we would have used a lot of that stuff to just own a house, take care of bills, have some things in place, invested, right? A lot of persons kind of take the time out to make this event in the moment. And as you were saying, Dr. T, you can have several rings, and your rings don't necessarily show the manifestation that happened in the home, or at least the manifestation of love that Yah wants. So that, so that what I was saying more so with the wedding ring is there's a lot of persons that kind of, that's where the mindset comes of the dowry, but really the same thing that we're using towards the ring can be a lot of stuff we can use in the home or even in the dowry, so to speak, whatever that's asked for from the family. So that's a different, that's kind of, so that I want to make that distinction as well. But yeah, so if Holy Spirit leads, now that's always something I'm really big on. If Holy Spirit leads, then yes, like for you to feel comfortable. But there's, and some of it, I guess I'd have to talk to whoever would probably go to another question on it. I probably have to talk to you in person because there's a lot of stuff. Like for example, when your husband shows up, who is he? What is the mission he's been given? Is what you're asking for, right? Which is different than a dowry. If you're saying I personally need, then what you're asking for personally from him, is it something that is helping out with mission so that you can make sure that you're in a place to help, which might be something you need. So I don't know what's asked for. Like I said, I have no clue what's asked for. So I'm not talking about you per se, personally, Dr. T. I'm just saying in
I
general.
mean, we're pretty open, so I just wasn't trying to like make a big deal out of it. But we're pretty open, right? We're pretty open. I'm looking at him, and he's shaking his head. We're good. Okay. So the thing is that I told him, I said, thank you, Cole. I told him, I said, the thing is that because we already talked about mission, we talked about vision, we agree on all of that. And then I told him, I said, in order for this to work, you would have to provide us with a house that we own. I don't want an apartment. I don't want to rent a house. We need a house that we own wherever you want to be. Because I don't care where we live. Wherever you decide we're gonna live, I'm good with that. But you have to have a house in that space. And so he took care of it. Like, so that's our situation because it has to. If we're gonna move around a lot, right? Because I'm mission focused. He's mission focused, and so we need a hub. And that was the main goal, to get a hub. And so I expressed that to him, and he was like, "All right, let's do it." And that was that. So
Yeah, so something like that would be acceptable, or if once again, depending on everybody's situation, if somebody can do it right away, if it's part of the vision and mission and it can't be done right away, maybe somebody might want to say, okay, once again, let's talk about mission, vision. Like I've talked about my situation when I got with Elder Ama. I was coming out of real bad situation, coming off the street. I was doing okay for myself, but I wasn't in a position that I should have been. And looking back, I probably should have been better before we even, further discuss things. But it is what it is. God bless us, and we were still faithful in our so-called ignorance or in our being unaware of things. He worked out all things together, and now things are correct, and they've been correct for some time. That being said, you know, um, she even with me, we were straight up, vision wise, like, hey, she was like, I'm just letting you know, because I could see. Eventually, it became like clear to her. She told me like, hey, and all the stuff and all the things you're doing and all the side hustles and all the jobs you're trying to take on, you've been trying to get this, you always end up like second place to whatever. Even in the pastoring thing, I had a few opportunities for really big churches, and they kind of like fell through. I always ended up second place in anything I was going for. And she was like, whenever you put effort into SOC, she's like, stuff be moving. How you doing, Sister Monica? Prayerfully you're feeling better. So she was like, stuff be moving, right? When you're doing that. So we talked, and she even gave me, uh, not an ultimatum per se, but we were honest. She was like, "Look, I'm just gonna be honest. If we go about this many years and I don't see certain progress, we're gonna have to readdress the vision because I need to." And it wasn't even a thing of you have to provide everything. That wasn't even her decree, so to speak. That wasn't her petition, so to speak. She was just like, I want to know that you have my back if something goes wrong. If at the time she's doing a lot of contract stuff. If a contract goes bad, whatever the case might be, I just want to know, like, we're not kind of all on me, and as long as I feel like that, we'll be fine. And I said, well, my goal is to make sure I take care of you. So yeah, we had a certain amount of time. We talked about it, and really the rubber met the road, because as things were getting better and greater, I didn't know stuff was about to kind of pop off the way that it eventually did, as far as virtually. But basically, when she kind of ended up without contract 2019, off and on, and in 2020, when everything kind of went down, and she was actually doing a lot of stuff with the government via contract and consulting and stuff, it just worked. It worked itself. Well, it didn't work itself out. I was putting in work. We were working together. We had conversations. We had plans. We had addressed the vision over and over again. When I started making more, I was saying, okay, I can do this. Let's do that. If she had, when she had money in advance, I was like, okay, maybe we should put this to the side. What do you think about blah, blah? She even, my wife, being who she is, even, was obedient to the spirit, and even, was able to put money and stuff, invest in the home that we had and stuff. And I was able to take care of things on the other end once we at least got that part, and we were able to pretty much cash out everything for the beginning, so like all those things, whatever, but it was vision oriented, it was mission oriented, it was vision oriented. So, that's something that's there, that's, to try and make sure that we're talking about. So I think those are things that are part of communication. So once again, the dowry is something that actually is going like towards the family, or at least letting the family know, I'm doing something to show you guys I'm willing to take care of your daughter. That's actually a huge part of things too for our sisters, is um, feeling like you have somebody who cares for you. And in our culture, the word care actually means that I'm thinking about what you need before you even might voice it or even know that you need it, because we're supposed to care for you the way that Yehoshua does, meaning that if he cares for us and provides for us in ways that I get to a place, and even if I'm frustrated in the process, when I get there, I'm like, oh, I see why you did that, right? Another example, and then we'll go on with the other questions, excuse me. Another example, personal example, my mother, who's passed away for over 20 years now, but she passed away from multiple sclerosis, right? And when I was young, the first car I remember is my father's car. He had a 77 Camaro, hard top, remove, all that, like slick, right? I mean, he ain't make all the money in the world, but he made sure he took care of that car. That was his baby, right? But he took care of his wife, loved his wife. She gets diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in, I believe, 88, when I was 5 or 6 years old. And a couple years at the most after, the Camaro disappeared, and then we got like a hold on one second, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Just making sure somebody's trying to contact me. I might have to I might have to jump off if I get another call, because that was Elder Alma, but I think everything's all right. But anyways, yeah. So my um so my mother basically all of a sudden sees that the Camaro went away, which she liked a lot. She really liked the Camaro, and she sees a deuce and a quarter pull ups. Y'all who know, you already know what the deuce and the quarter is. I ain't got to explain it. And it's not a bad car per se, but it ain't the 77 Camaro that her, my father, and the two children, small children in the back, was having the windows going down and just riding, right? So she's upset. Next thing you know, the deuce and the quarter disappears, and there's a white van, right? And she's not feeling that at all. But the reason he got it was because at the time we didn't know how to, do things. Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Give me a second. This is Elder Alma calling. Let me check on this real Our family didn't understand at the time, but my father, even in making certain moves, he was making certain moves thinking down the road, even things that he had to do for us. We had to start doing things differently as a family. He worked 2 jobs, but both were for government. One was for the state of Maryland, one was for the federal government. So he was able to look at getting certain things done as far as, making sure that she could be taken care of as soon as we got back home from school. He got us training and stuff because even though technically we're too young to be doing stuff, we had to take care of mom as best we could. So, a lot of things that we're dealing with and dealing in, there's things that the husband should be thinking about sometimes, even if they upset the apple cart, so to speak. But that's the responsibility. So really, when we're coming from a place of thinking about these things and even caring, a husband should care. Now, that should always be the case to where everything that we're doing is leading to argument or frustration or why are you doing blah, blah. That shouldn't always be the case, right? But there should be even room for that to where, yeah, like sometimes there's going to be some things that come up. There's some times where, I've got to pick up the slack sometimes, even in the midst of doing something and moving. I might not even have a chance to explain it the way I'd like to. Maybe, to be honest, sometimes Holy Spirit is telling me to move. And I wish I could explain it, but I can't even explain it the way that I really would like to. I just know that I hear Holy Spirit saying move. I know something's coming up. This happened with us in 2020 when we left down. We went down to go to Georgia, and we were basically in the DMV, Baltimore area, back and forth. And I heard a voice literally like say, and we had been talking about it a little bit, but we were just gonna wait things out to see what's gonna happen. I heard a voice say, "You need to go down south." And so we were like, you know what? We've been talking about it. Let's just go. So we packed everything up in the car. Stuff wasn't even in order, whatever. We just threw whatever we could in there. Took our stuff, filled to the brim. We knew we were going to be down for a while. We didn't know how long. And we just left. And sure enough, on our way down, we see National Guard coming to certain places, and we see or we got word from other persons who were part of SOC at the time when we were doing just the physical assembly that were still there from then. They were calling us, telling us, yeah, man, they're filling up this stadium. They're going to RFK. They're doing this. They're doing that. And I was like, whoa, really? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, in DC? Well, I was like, I guess in DC, yeah, because that's kind of headquarters of the country, right? If they're doing it there, anywhere else, they're going to do it here. But had we not left, right? But it was just an unction. I can't explain it. And we just were in agreement, and we left, right, and did what we needed to do. So we were blessed, and we had it. And actually, it ended up being a really nice spot. And I was able to pick up the slack. It proved a lot of stuff as far as my wife being able to chill and know that I had things in order, going back to our agreement and stuff, and making sure that I was improving in those areas. So there was a lot of stuff that actually worked really well. Obviously down south, persons, we still wore, masks in certain places to respect people, but, there's a lot more things you could do open, not around everybody. So, we weren't really into the whole mask thing the way everybody else was. And so we could go places where we could chill out and not worry about being offensive or people looking at you, because depending on where you were, persons were all for it. Other places, persons weren't. So it was just a lot of great stuff. But I say all that to say, that's part of it too, is caring and being in tune with the Holy Spirit, to be in a position to where, yeah, sometimes you're going to have to make a move, and that trust has to be there. But anyways, let's get back to the questions. I'm getting a little further from the questions. Praise y'all. Somebody had something in the comment a little while ago. Hopefully I didn't lose it when I had to leave out. I think I might have. I'm sorry. Somebody had a question about something. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was Sister Helen. I can't remember who it was. I think there was somebody put something in the chat. I can't see what's in there because I had to step out, so I can only see what I saw when I got back on. So if anybody wants to repost the question they had, or if anybody has another question, comment, or concern, feel free to go ahead. And if you are just tuning in, this is our continuing what we did yesterday, which was the question and answers. So we'll do our live sessions every second Saturday, Elder Alma and I, every second Saturday at 7 p.m. New York time. And the following Sunday, we'll make sure that we come on. And the next day, pretty much probably myself, but right now we're actually hosting family. So she's going to try to jump on a little bit if she can. That's partially what we were talking about. But
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Hey, how you doing? So we'll but yeah, so we'll have this session, and we're doing this kind of open to everybody, but eventually it'll be something that we just have on Patreon. We'll still try our best to make sure that everybody can get the link and stuff, but it'll be easiest for you if you just are able to get it from there. That's usually the best place to get this link. But somebody did have a question, or does somebody have another question? I apologize. I hope I didn't lose the person. Okay. So you said you talked to your wife about being the protector and being in control. So I don't know what that means. If you know, I don't know what the conversation was. So you talked to her. Is that say, or do you want us to go further into it, or what is there a question both of you have concerning it, or I don't want to speak and not be specific to it because it could be a broad question or answer. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? If there be nothing, I won't. But
The sister asked, she asked if engagement and I'm just gonna ask. She said engagement and dating, are they the same thing? That was one question. Brother Rod said is the ring necessary, and then of course Triple OG was talking about the leader being whether leadership talking about leader being in control.
I'm sorry, talking about leadership is what?
And the leadership, letting the leader be in control. So those are the three questions that's out there right now. Is engagement the same thing as dating?
Mm-hmm.
There's a leader. With a leader being a leader, that means he's in control. And then is a ring necessary? Those are the three questions out right now.
Okay. Well, a ring's not necessary per se. Once again, that depends on you as the person. Like now, once again, the whole thing that persons do with wedding rings is once again, it's kind of like the whole born day celebration. People say don't have a birthday cake, blah blah, because you know the candles and you know the blah blah and you know this and that or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, that through that culture, that prism, right? We kind of go through there. So it's kind of the same conversation with the ring. People look for things and they're usually not even necessarily 100% accurate. Like people will say, well, this is the ring, the ring finger is the finger that Romans thought led to the heart and something like that. But it's actually not the ring finger. It's kind of like the same discussion. We don't know. Kind of like if you've ever heard somebody, you say thumbs up, thumbs down, or you've seen Gladiator and they say, thumbs up is they get to live, thumbs down. We don't actually know what they did. It might have been with their thumb, and even so, we don't know if it was up meant you live or down meant you lived, or if it was halfway. Like we don't really know. So they made a movie, and like a lot of stuff in history, unfortunately, we don't actually go past the movie. So the movie just said, this is long, like decades ago. There's, I'm talking about past Gladiator. Wow, Gladiator been out for a minute, huh? So I guess that's decades too, right? But decades before that, there was a black and white. They like, no, just playing music, no speaking. There was a gladiatorial movie, and they basically in the movie they went thumbs up was yes, and thumbs down was no. So a lot of the stuff that we get as rings, as far as that, once again, that's up to you. In your personal walk or whatever. Now, I do want to say this. A lot of persons forget there is a such thing as a family ring that would have been worn. Obviously, that depends on the class too, but there were persons who wore family rings. So if you were married to somebody of a certain class or a certain stature.
Pastor, but that was my question. I was going to ask, is there a signal for Judah? That's what I was going to ask. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. You said say what now for Judah?
It's signal.
Yeah. Okay. Judah. Right. So there's rings for Judah. Sorry, go ahead.
Or stone. There's stone also.
Yeah, so there's different stones for each branch. There's rings that were worn, I guess that you could say are a sign of each branch or each nation or each son or each what we now some of us still call tribes, right? But if you're talking about like even the ring per family, there were rings that were actually for family. So if you marry into certain families, you were going to if you married into certain families, there would be even like a family crest, I guess we could call it, right? And so persons would actually use it. So if your wife went to the store, it's almost like a credit card too. If your wife or your child went to the store, went to the market, they literally could take, they would take the crest with them. They wear it everywhere. If they needed to get something, it would like be put on the credit of the master of the house or the father of the house, and basically they would put the insignia down. But also, if you went somewhere else, somebody would know who you are by the crest, right? So that's something that actually is not outside of our culture to have. Matter of fact, at some point in my life, it's a bucket list thing. I'd like to be able to have something like that for my personal family, as well. Like, for us to have a crest that speaks of our name and speaks of our being, and you have to be part of our family to have this or whatever. And down generations, anybody who comes in, I'd like for them to have something of the same, so, but that's obviously not something you have to have, right? But I'm just saying, as far as the idea of a ring and it being something that's totally foreign to Israel in any way, shape, or form is not 100% accurate at all. Like, there's some accuracy as far as, yes, persons that have rings of other culture, and could they use them for different things? Yes. But having a family crest on a ring to be worn by anybody who's part of the family is not um you know is not a new thing, or to wear a ring. So or even to choose a ring. Now, as far as the question and concerning is engagement, being engaged to somebody, dating, no. So once again, it's a whole different cultural outlook. It's hard to explain because we just come from a place of like, well, if you are with somebody, that means that like y'all are going out every night, right? That means like you talking and seeing them every day, blah blah, and this and that. But you got to realize, like, culturally speaking, it's a totally different mindset, right? Am I saying anybody who's ever dated your marriage can't work, yada yada yada? No. But what I'm saying is that if we're gonna do it, as far as trying to do it from the beginning, if you're trying to get it righteous, then like the goal. So a husband wouldn't be dating around or doing this or whatever. A husband would be in his work, right? We kind of know this part from the live sessions already. I won't go deep into that, right? I see you, Sister Monica. So, so a husband would be in his work already. While he's in his work, normally what happens is you find your wife, or you find a wife. She's not even yours, but she should be qualified. He who finds a wife, right? So you approach her, you give her basically a resume, or really before that, you would actually watch her. You would ask persons questions because everybody would know each other. So somebody in the community should know about who she is. You should, if she's doing stuff around you in your work, you should be able to get information. I usually use this because it's one of the easiest ones for us to look up. Boaz got information on Ruth, right? So when they had a conversation, Boaz is already like, oh yeah, I know what you did for Naomi. I know that you could have went back to, the heathen guys that you worship, but you come to Elohim. Like, I know that blah, blah. Like, I know that y'all need, like, he researched. He not just like randomly showing up, and it wasn't on no creepy mess either, because there is a line, right? He wasn't on no creep stuff, but he's like, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, I know what you do. I know that's my family. He's like, we know each other. Like, this is all family. He's like, Ruth is my family. She my people's. Like, so we know about you. Like, we knew you were coming before you even knew who I was. Like, so when you went to glean from the stuff, you didn't realize you were gleaning off my work already. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the mindset. So, right, background check, if you will, right? So he's already in the mindset of like, oh yeah, you gleaning, you might not know this, but I'm already, and I'm already righteous, right? The Bible says he's already doing certain things that are righteousness, right? So Naomi knows about him too. That's her family. So she's like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Naomi is the one teaching the younger one how to do stuff, is the one that says, hey, you might want to do blah, 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 because Boaz likes da, 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 right? So those things are there. We had this concept where it's like, oh, you got to be putting yourself out there or dating the blah blah. And we talked about this last night, and Elder Amazon. So, babe, if you need to correct anything I'm saying, if you want to jump in, feel free, because you were saying some of this stuff and dropping some of these jewels last night. But about not being afraid to put yourself out there, because the Bible doesn't say you can a wife or a woman cannot make it known that she would like to be pursued, so to speak, right? And that can be a mistake, as Elder Alma was teaching on last night. So it doesn't say that. It says he who finds a wife. Doesn't mean that a wife can't say what's up or let you know, like, I'm interested, or that I'm available, or whatever the case might be. That being said, when we talk about engagement or betrothal, our mindset is what happens with engagement. Well, once you're engaged, then that's when you get to start hanging out more. You start holding hands more. You start, like, for us, once the engagement is solidified in our culture, that's actually when the paperwork's supposed to happen. Like, everybody does it different now. Everybody waits because we following somebody else's culture. The paperwork actually starts when you engage. Like, when you engage, and everything's straight, and we know blah blah, and we kind of written some things out. Everybody's in agreement. Family's in agreement. That's when you actually are put on file, right? This is why it says when Joseph or Yosef, right, the stepfather, if you will, of Yahashua, when he found out that Mary was pregnant, and he didn't know what was going on, he thought that she obviously got impregnated by another man, right? So you cheating. and his heart was broken, but it said he loved her. Since he loved her, he wanted to put her away privately. What does that mean? Even though they weren't officially, they hadn't had sex yet, which means they were not officially married in our culture. Even though they had not had sex yet, it means that on paper, they were already together, right? The ceremony when they actually two become one is when the marriage becomes official. Up until then, though, right? You're married on paper, so to speak. You're like, we're saying you're saved for each other. And then what happens during that period is that the husband is supposed to be going to prepare a place for his wife. The wife is supposed to be preparing herself for her husband, right? She's putting the oil in the lamp. He's going to prepare a place to add a mansion, an attachment to his father's house. So that's why we were talking about last night that if you're not careful, you'll have the mindset of the world. The Once you guys are engaged, a lot of persons start dating and spending money and spending time doing. And I'm not saying you can't talk. I'm not saying you can't see each other during the holy day. We're not doing any of that stuff, right? But at the same time, yeah, like he has a responsibility during that time. He's actually supposed to be gathering things together, right? He's supposed to be getting himself in order, getting himself in line. It's a totally different mindset. We go, well, once he's engaged, he should be engaged in every activity. He should be showing up at the house. He should be going shopping. He should be going, and it's like, no, actually he's going to be around somewhat, but now his main work is to make sure that you are going to be straight. And his father is supposed to be over him too. If it works out perfectly, his father will actually be the one looking over him building the house, which means his family is all in. You know, his mother's in, his father's in, his family's in. There's persons who are preparing plate. There's persons who are asking questions to the wife's parents and asking questions of her. What do you need? Blah blah. Right? Everybody is a community is getting together. So when this marriage happens, this is a community event. You know, it's two becoming one as far as persons, but the people, the nation is gaining a stronger family structure. And so it's a different mindset for us. We're still kind of on the tip of, you know, we're kind of on the mindset of, oh, okay, you know, we going out, we doing this, we going to the movies, blah blah. Oh, okay, now that we're engaged, we're doing even more and blah blah. And then we just go, I won't see him the day before, a 24-hour period before, as a good luck thing or whatever. And it's like, no, like the reason why that even exists is a holdover from a time. It's something that's showing you culturally that they still give credence to. Like there's some separation that happens because now you guys are really preparing for each other, taking time out. Elder Alma was saying it last night. Babe, I don't know if you're available. Could you repeat some of the stuff you were saying? Because you were saying some great stuff about if, you know, being separated, taking time out to get yourself in order and things like that, not losing yourself in the process, but making yourself better so that when you come together with somebody, you can be one. Are you available?
Yes, sorry. Well, you were, well, I was saying, like, instead of focusing on dating, focus on self-improvement, because if someone's committed to you and they're saying they want to be with you, then waiting the amount of time it takes, you know, whatever it takes to actually be together, and especially sexually, then shouldn't be an issue if they plan on being with you for the rest of their lives. And then if they don't, while you're improving yourself, somebody better will come along. So don't worry about it.
Amen. Yeah. So yeah. So and thank you, babe. So yeah. So it's a lot, and thank you for the correction too, because I was going somewhere a little different. So yeah. So it's the dating. So when people go, oh, so you're engaged, you know, so what's the difference? Well, there is a big difference in the world. If they're saying dating, you know, we know what time it is. I'm not just talking about in the bedroom either, even though that can be part of it. But I'm just saying we know what time it is. Dating is, yeah, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, but no really preparing yourself for the person or preparing a place for the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life. That's the objective. That's the goal, you know, is to prepare yourself. And that's culture, right? Even once again, I go to prepare a place for thee. And then while I'm gone, what are you doing? You're putting oil in your lamp. Like this is a cultural outlook of what's supposed to be going on. And all this stuff has been discussed. So even the paperwork, like I said, for marriage and everything, that actually in our culture should be when somebody says we're getting engaged. Oh, okay, well, we need to get your paperwork done. We need to have something on paper saying you guys belong to each other. You guys have already agreed, da, da, da. And basically everything, just like in the world, by the way, if you were to go to the state, once you consummate the marriage and everything that you have on contract is now what we're holding you accountable to full time. So it's a whole different mindset than a lot of us have as far as dating. And it comes from a mindset too, where we don't, it's hard for us because we come from a different concept. It's hard for us to believe that a marriage can work unless somebody knows everything about you already. And I'm here to tell you something that might sound weird to some. You will never fully know everything you think you know about your spouse for the entirety of your life. That's why you are committed to being better and learning more about the person every day. You will never ever. And look, I love it. It's part of it is making me better, right? And thinking, oh, okay, I thought I had. Oh no, okay, I did not have that together. I need to be better with my communication. I need to be better with the gifts that I give. I need to be better with my hug output. My hug to kiss ratio needs to increase, right? So you will not, you know what I'm saying? You will never, as big time as you think you are, I promise you, no matter who you are, no matter how many persons you've helped with their marriage, etc., you will never, at least on this side of Zion, will never 100% understand your spouse because you're a human being or so-called human being. I know those of you getting sovereignty don't like the word human sometimes, but you get what I'm saying, right? You are flesh, and in your flesh, you have shortcomings, and so all of us have certain things that we need to improve upon. So if that's the thing you're waiting on, that's why some people be dating 10 years, and that's way too long, but they be dating 10 years. And I'm like, I don't know what 10 years took you to be able to find out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, now you dated 10, and then the wild part is the ones that date 10 years are the ones that 2 years into the marriage, they done. And I'm like, so y'all did all that, you were committed to blah blah, so you say, and then now all of a sudden we put what changed when you put the ring on? Well, blah blah, but it's like, no, the goal should be marriage from the beginning, not trying to figure out if this person, like, if dating basically is used, is not, and it's not even functional this way, but this is the way we like to use it. Dating is oftentimes going to be used, especially from the worldly prism. Dating is usually going to be used to say, all right, I want to learn as much about this person, and once I find out something I don't like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to eject, right? In our culture, we're training husbands and wives, right? Who should already know what marriage is. You should already know yourself. Now, once again, this is a holdover from us coming out the world. Let's be honest. A lot of us don't know ourselves. A lot of us don't know the marriage stuff. A lot of us were not raised that it had to be this, 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 this. A lot of us didn't have the bat mitzvah or the bar mitzvah or the bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah. A lot of us didn't go through certain things that we were supposed to. A lot of us didn't know what it was to be trained to be a husband and a wife by the time you're 18, mother and father by the time you're 21. A lot of men, if any of us, I don't know how many of us were given an inheritance, not when our parents passed, but once we left the house at 22, and daddy said, I'm proud of you, son. Now make me prouder. Here's your inheritance. Here's your land. Here's your home. Go do what you got to do and keep the work going. Build on top of what it is. And then when you find a wife, you'll already have the stuff that's together to start making decisions. So you won't have to go, like getting a dowry won't be a big deal. You know why? Because you don't got to paying for something else ain't going to be a big deal, because I take care of your home. I've taken care of your home. I've taken care of your car. I educated you. Like, you don't have none of this stuff that everybody else is worried about. We have a whole different, prism we should be coming through. So when we talk about marriage, dating, relationships, we're still coming through a prism of, we're just trying to make it. We two people. Matter of fact, a lot of people come together because, hey, you down for me, and we both kind of can't take care of ourselves. Let's get together and figure this thing out. And while I'm not saying it's a bad thing per se, Yah's plan is a lot different. Yah's plan is vision oriented. Yah's plan is you should already be a wife. Yah's plan is don't mess with no woman if you don't even think that she's a wife. Yah's plan is both of y'all Negroes should be as close to chaste as possible. And even if you're not a virgin, you should still be chaste, right? That's two different words. But I'm just saying you should be as close to 100% chastity and purity as possible, even in the mind, because once you've done something in the mind, you've already done it. So we're talking about, like, we're not even talking about apples and oranges. We're talking about fruit and steel, and rusted steel. Like, we're trying to eat two things. One is poisonous to our system, and we need tetanus shots of it. The other one should provide us with stuff that we need and help us to even produce seed to further grow. So yeah, dating and or being engaged doesn't mean now we say go ahead and date. Being engaged says, okay, you guys have literally on paper signed a contract. Everybody's all in, the family, the community. All right, now we need to go to the next level. We need to go to a step of getting the wife ready, right? Her becoming stronger, the husband ready, becoming stronger, and then having a ceremony. And from that point on, when two become one, by the way, especially if you're going to be having children, if you're somebody who's getting married and having children, if you guys are having children, guess what? The community's supposed to take care of it as well. Whole different thing. A lot of you have your child, you got to go right back to work. right? In the community, hey, once you have that child, all you do is breastfeed. We take care of the child. We do this, we do that. Like, you need to get yourself together. The Bible even gives dates, right? Where not only just sexually, that's the only part we think of, but where a woman should go through a part of being able to recover. If she has a male child, I believe it's 66 days. And if it's a female child, I believe it's 88 days, if I'm not mistaken. So like, there's even a process in that. Like there's a whole communal aspect. There's a whole healing thing. There's a whole thing of purity and togetherness and growing together that we're not even close to sometimes in the mentality. So our mindset is really like, if I don't know nothing about you, right? And I'm not saying you should know nothing about the person, but I'm just telling you biblical examples. And people think this is weird, but I'm not just saying it has to be, what is it that you call it? Prearranged marriage and all that. But I'm just telling you, in the Bible, Rebecca and Isaac got together, had Israel, all that. You look up how long they knew each other. You know what I'm saying? There are some that knew each other longer. Abraham and Sarah. By the way, they weren't brother and sister. By the way, that's a lie that Abraham told. So before somebody goes to that mindset, there's nowhere in the Bible or any books where it says that they were actually brother and sister. That's a lie that Abraham told twice, and so we believe him. So be careful about the lies you tell. That's another point. But but they're not brother and sister. That's a lie. But I'm just saying, like, you have examples of many persons in the Bible. David marrying a woman that had somebody else's back, and showed that she was a wife because David was going to wipe out their whole family, right? Like, and then see how long he saw her be a wife and saw her be a wife. And so once her husband was out of the picture, he said, that's wife material. Somebody go grab her for me and see if she'd be willing to become my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that we see, take place quite often. So our mindset is really outside of our culture, to where we think unless we're doing the typical dating thing or in the typical dating scene, and I'm be honest with you too. I'm thankful. Brothers, sisters, those of us who aren't in the game right now, really all of us should be out of the dating game, no matter if you if you so-called single, because we should all be married to the Most High. But whether you single or married, because the stuff that's out here today, boy, and this dating stuff, I can't even I can't call it. That's what we used to say, but I can't call it. So anyways, I'm sorry. I know somebody else had a question about the control piece, but I know okay, never mind. The hand was down. I'll come back to you. I think it was Brother Omar had his hand up. But the other question about control. So this is what I say about control, right? Because I don't even necessarily like to use the term control, as you guys know. I get what we mean by self-control or control, but Yah's in control. That's how I look at it. So I don't necessarily use the word control, but I get what the meaning is, which is like, okay, if I'm the husband and I'm supposed to provide security, then what's my role? Because a lot of brothers feel like we don't know what our lane is. If we just put it like that, I think that's a gentle way of saying it, right? Pretty gentle way, is that most of us are kind of like, all right, what am I supposed to do then? Because there is a holdover. And sisters, this is in all honesty, just dealing with some of the stuff where, let me not even say dealing, listening to a lot of problems as far as relationships, marital relationships, and even just listen to happy marriages. This stuff creeps in, where there is a thing where, especially because a lot of us in our past were let down as far as what a husband and wife should be, because of society, because of chattel slavery, because of PTSD, many different things that are out there. There is this thing that's out there where it's hard to sometimes relinquish some of the things. We did talk about this when we said a safe place. I don't know if it was a safe place for marriage or a safe place for husbands, but we did make it a point to say that if you're going to have protection, right? And I used my gate guard duties, different places I was gate guard, and gate guard duty, or even other duties I had in certain places on certain bases and stuff in the military. And I was talking about how, you either want it to be easy or you want security. Now that's an extreme version, because obviously securing a base is somewhat different than securing a house, but you should take it just as seriously, if not more so. And so I would, so like, when it comes to security, one of the things that I was saying was, guess who has to feel the most secure when it comes to security, right? It's not the person that's being secured. It's actually the person that secures you. Believe it or not, right? If I got the gun, or if I'm supposed to secure the base, but I don't have no weapon, it's not going to work too well if something go down, right? And I'm probably not going to react the same way as if I had the weapon. If I'm, I was in positions to where some really high name persons I was in security over them. Right, and security detail, and we're talking about places that nobody's supposed to even know exist. But what if somebody tries to come looking for them or whatever? We have to have a level of feeling safe within ourselves and knowing that everybody around us in their position is prepared enough to make sure that we feel safe, because everybody else is depending on us. If we're not safe, you're not safe, type thing, right? So we talked about a safe place even for that, as far as for the husbands to feel security themselves. Now, it's not our number one. Our number one is respect. But in essence, that's what a lot of brothers kind of equate security to. It's kind of an offshoot. Is that kind of not necessarily 100% correct? But the same way you need security, your number one is security. His number one is respect. So a husband will secure anybody or any. Watch this. This how I don't know if you want to say wild it is. It just is what it is, right? A man will secure or love. Let's put it even like that, because let's add some affection in there too. A man will love anything that helps him accomplish his mission. If you don't believe me, see your man with a busted up vehicle, but see how well he takes care of it. Right? I had a what was it even two? It wasn't even 2005. I had a 1990, 95 or a 96. This is in the early 2000, 2004, 2003, 4, 5, somewhere in there. I had a busted 95 or 96 Dodge Neon, paint coming off the top, plastic rims and all that stuff. But it was clean. As clean as I could make it look, right? But because it helped me get from point A to point B, that was my mindset, right? There's just certain things I wouldn't do in the car, because it helps me. So I love on it, right? And it's the way I'm wired as a husband, as a man, right? And see how much effort a brother takes when it's time to clean the car and stuff. Brothers get, if brothers get frustrated about anything, it'd be like, I need to clean your car. Let me do the blah blah. And it's like, no, I need to clean it. Because even though it's yours, it's a reflection of him, right? If the car is not on his schedule and he can't get blah blah whatever, right? There's a lot of brothers who, that's a big deal for you, not just your car, but even her car. You want to make sure certain things are done, right? Well, it's the same thing, and I'm not, obviously, wives, hear me, right? Because we're going to address you as who you are tonight. Wives, hear me. Even if you're single, we're talking about finding wives. So wives, hear me. I'm not equating you to a car. You are definitely not. That would be demeaning. What I'm trying to say is, in the same manner, anything that a man knows helps him with the vision, he's willing to submit to making sure that it's taken care of, right? If not, and I'm talking about kingdom men, this is why we have to be careful too. That's why I say we're supposed to kind of sort of, as somebody said earlier, kind of sort of have these background checks. Like, we should know each other. We should be able to vouch for so and so, because there might be a brother out there who swears up and down blah blah, but when we check him out or we look at this blah blah, it's like, oh no, he ain't kingdom. You know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna do that, we have to be in position. So anyways, going back to what we're saying, so his security comes with how much he feels is respected, and that has to go both ways, and that becomes an issue, right? To where he's saying, I need respect, I need respect, I need respect. He's on E, but you saying, I'm on E, I need security, security, security. Even the number two needs for both of us. I need sex, I need the sex, I need sex. But what do you say? I need affection, I need affection, I need affection. Right? So it goes both ways, right? So in that, like, there has to be some kind of meeting of the minds and both persons doing what Ephesians 5:21 says. If you were to go in your Bible and look up Ephesians 5:22, that's where it says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as unto a dawn. If you were to go in your Bible and look up Ephesians 5:25, that's where it would say, husbands, love your wives the way that Yahashua loved the assembly and gave himself for it. But if you look up Ephesians 5:21 before both of those, it says, let us submit ourselves one to another as we do to the Lord. So submission is key for both, even before we meet, because when you see these terms, even in the Greek there in Ephesians, when it says husband and wife, it's actually talking about those who are pre-qualified. We ain't talking about people that are together yet. So it's even telling you, before you go down this road of being a husband and wife, we should have already been trained and taught on these things. And it would help us out to help us to see things different. So submission to Yah's will, it means that I, as a husband, whether she's even giving me the respect or not, I already realized I have to love her, right? I already realized that I have to love her regardless, right? The way that Yahashua loved the assembly. Did Yahashua stop loving me because I was sinning? Or because I didn't get it? Maybe I wasn't sinning on purpose, but I didn't get it. So did he say, okay, I'm not going to take care of Kofi. He's not my wife no more. No. Matter of fact, he might have increased his love. He might have shown me some things different. Now, there are some things that sometimes he had to have real talk with me. I pray to him. I say this, I blah, blah. I think I'm doing this right, preaching right, etc. And he might have to come to me and say, no, that's not right. That's not this. That's not how we operate, right? But he never withheld his love. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes we'll get to this place where it's like, well, I'm not getting no respect, so I'm not going to love you. I'm not going to speak up. I'm not going to talk, right? I'm guilty of this. I'm going to do the silent treatment thing, right? Even if I didn't mean to. I look back sometimes and I'm like, dang, yeah, she's right. I was doing the silent treatment thing. Like I wasn't meaning to. It's just I even try my best to make an excuse for it. I'd rather not say something that'll make her mad. But I didn't think about the fact that if Yah just never talked to me again, how does that feel? Right? Because that's how I'm supposed to love her, and go out of my way to. Same thing now, though, on the flip side for the wives, the respect piece, right? The respect piece. Where's the respect? Where's the respect? Where's the respect? Well, he's not securing. He's not securing. Okay, watch this. When Yah has you in a position and you by faith say, I don't know what you're going to ask from me next, Yah, but by faith, I'm going to commit to what you said. I'm going to move behind you. I'm going to keep following what you said. Even if you haven't told me anything yet, the last thing that you said, yeah, I'm going to keep holding to it because I'm going to be faithful. Okay. Well, wives, submit yourselves, not to every man. This is why it's key, but to your own who? Husbands, in the same manner that you do to the Most High. Not the same way, but in the same manner, in the same regard. In other words, if your husband is the vessel, right, and Yah says, I got water for you, right, and his water comes to your husband. If your husband is a vessel and Yah gives you the cup, drink of it. Stop talking about, I'm going to listen to this one. I'm going to look at this show. I'm going to do this. I'm going to drink from this cup and that cup. That's not where he said get it from. Matter of fact, yes, I'm your pastor, but I don't supersede your husband. I want to make that clear too. I try to say that all the time because that used to bother me when sisters be coming up in here and they be talking to me about stuff or whatever, and they act like I'm supposed to super. I'm like, I'm not above him. Like, no, pastor, you need to tell. Look, okay, fine, I get it. Like he might be doing this and blah blah, but I'm not above him. That's your husband. For better or for worse, sickness, health, death, you. I'm married. I have a wife. That's not my responsibility. I'm gonna give you as much game as I can, but I got to spit game over here. You're going to have to spit game over there. You know what I'm saying? And I've had wives that would come up and be all this stuff, and they'd be showing up for weeks. And finally I have to be like, where's your husband at? And I listen to him and I'd be like, oh, the way you talk about me. Like, and it's not that they even necessarily, I guess some women probably did or whatever, but I wasn't thinking about it. But I don't even think it's necessarily they were thinking about me in some kind of weird way. I had to realize like, oh, like their husband probably hears them speak about me like he wishes they spoke about him. And I have to tell them sometimes, like, you can't come back for a couple of weeks. You got to, I don't want to see you. What you mean, pastor? Blah, blah. No pastor should be telling them not to come to the church. And Okay, well, this one is. Be mad. But if you do come back, when you come back, I bet you that he'll want to come back with you if you treat him the way. And by the way, go apologize to him and tell him, by the way, because you done got me in trouble, tell your husband that I said, I'm sorry because I allowed it to be in your head that for some reason you think that I'm supposed to be above him. And you'd be surprised. Then he show up a couple weeks later talking about some, man, you know, Pastor Kofi, I can get the word from you anytime, blah, blah. Because all I did was respect that man. That's it. That's all he's looking for. You know, your husband say something and it's wise. All you got to do is say, baby, you know, that's a wise saying. I don't know why that's a big deal for us sometimes. Like your wife say something, she drop a jewel. The same way that you would go ahead and say it to a stranger on the job, bro. Say to your wife, you know what, babe, shoot, I'm glad that you said that. I don't know what I'd do without you. Feed each other. That's security. That's affection on one end. That's respect on the other end. You know, feed each other what you want to be fed, or feed each other what allows you to be fed the same thing. Sisters, if you feed him respect, he gonna feed you security, right? Because brothers, we like, you know, when we got older, when we were young little boys, Mama used to tell us all the time, look at Mama's little man. She used to say she was so proud of us. She used to say we were so strong. Even when we wasn't, she used to say she was so proud of us because we took 10 steps in a row and we didn't fall flat on our face. And then you get older and, you know, people forget that you need that still. So if you become somebody that feeds us in that arena, I promise you, we're going to secure it because we want that. We need that. We need that, right? I won't talk about which brother, but there was a brother even recently. I saw him post something. I immediately, knowing like what kind of vibe it was, called him up immediately and was like, "Hey, bro, what's going on?" He did the same thing as usual. "Man, I'm fine. I'm great." I was like, "You sure?" I'm like, yeah, I'm a little sick, blah blah." And I was like, and I just said what I saw in the thing. I won't say exactly what I said, but in essence, I said, I just want you to know, like, how can I say it? I want you to know that I love you and I'm proud of you. And he paused, and I was like, "You hear me?" He's like, "Yeah, I heard you." I was like, "You hear me though? Like, what did I say?" He just laughed. He goes, "You said you love me, proud of me." That's not exactly what I said, but whatever, right? I said, "Okay." I was like, "I'm not gonna stay on here that long with you. I just saw you post something, and as your brother, I just wanted to let you know." And in essence, what he was saying, he was crying out for respect. He felt like nobody respected him. So I just wanted to let him know, like, if anybody respect you, it's me. You ain't by yourself. And I said, "I'm gonna call you up again, and you better pick up the phone when I call too. I know I don't always pick up the phone, but you put that thing out there. So now you gonna have me on your, you know what?" Because you don't put that out there, right? But that's just respect. And now he got a little bit of respect. Next thing I knew, I didn't even realize before that he had kind of been falling off of the live sessions and everything. Now all of a sudden he right there every time. So you'd be surprised, like with the respect. So going back to the control thing, I've danced around it. I've kind of answered it already, but I wanted to make sure those things were put in place. I don't believe in control. Y'all's in control. That being said, I don't even believe I have self-control. I'm controlled by the laws and the will and what Holy Spirit says. If I move and if I don't, then I'm out of pocket. I don't want to be in control. I gave up control to y'all, right, a long time ago, right? What I should have is authority. Both sides have authority, and I should have authority in certain arenas because I am a husband, right? I don't abuse it. I don't even necessarily need to even use it all the time, right? But if I need to use the authority, I should be able to say, "Yeah, you know what? I'm authorized as the husband, and as long as I'm in the will of Yah, led by Holy Spirit, in my word, loving you, caring for you, providing, making sure that you get affection, security, all that stuff, then I should have the opportunity to be able to say, hey, if it's my responsibility to make sure you're secure, then these are the weapons that I use, and I need these weapons to function correctly." Right? Anything they call, now this is when we get into, and I know we got a couple persons waiting, so I'm going to try and speed up, and I don't want to keep us on here all night long. We'll only do maybe 15 more minutes tops. How can I say this quickly? So this is when it gets, what we're talking about, the weapons, right? So my weapons got to be able to be used at a moment's notice, right? Because I got to defend you. So basically, put it like this, like anything that causes me not to secure you, I should have the right to be what Yah is to us. And we love to say it about Yah, but you don't like to say about your husband. And what I'm gonna say is that Yah is a jealous Yah. And I know we don't like that word. Now I'm not saying he should be jealous to the point of doing certain things, but Yah is jealous. He said, "I don't like nobody but my baby. I don't like nobody but Israel." He was like, "I don't know why y'all out here with these heathen gods and idols and all this stuff." He's like, "I don't like that." He's like, "I don't play with that." He said, "Anytime that I see you doing that, I'm jealous. You know why? Not just because you ain't spending time with me, but also too, I know that they ain't got your best interest at heart." Right? I had to deal with a couple before, and it was this weird thing going on where one of the persons in the couple had told the other person they was going to cheat, and basically the other person should let them get away with it for whatever. It's a weird thing. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want y'all ever to know I'm talking about. Y'all have never met him or heard of him, but still, right? That being said, I had to come to the person and be like, "Hey, real talk. If this person knows you're married, right? And you're gonna get with them, they know that you already about something else with something that's for this other person is right to tell you, right? That you can go ahead and do that if you want, but if you're gonna go ahead and do that, realize that what you're setting yourself up for is something where not only is the person gonna leave you, but they have a right to, they're telling you the right thing, which is you're about to put yourself in a situation where you're going to lose something that's better because this person obviously cares about you enough to even tell you that y'all might be this close to leaving. It might be done, but they love you enough to be like, that over there ain't it." Right? And wives, sometimes your husband has the right to be jealous. He has the right to have authority over certain things. He has the right to say, if you want me to secure you, this is how I move. I know for me personally, you guys know me, I'm very big with like scheduling stuff. I like it to be like same day, same time, blah, blah, whatever. Right. My wife is very great at accommodating a lot of that, especially for the live sessions. No matter where we are, we're gonna be, on the live session. We're gonna do certain things, certain days that we're supposed to do certain multiple things. We're gonna do them. She's very great about Shabbat on Saturdays, things like that. But for me to make sure that things are secure, like I have to know every day. I have a little sprinkle of ADHD still, if you will. Where I can focus on 75,000 things. It kind of helps with the live sessions, right? But also too, if I don't have a schedule, I will forget. I'm the brother that puts his keys down and 2 seconds later doesn't know where his keys are. You know what I'm saying? So I have to have a place for my keys, and please don't touch them, because if you touch them, if you breathe on them wrong, I will I will forget where they are. Like I have to. You're gonna have to work with me. If somebody asks me a question and you're on the phone. Certain questions, I know it's a 5-minute answer, but if you ask me, it's going to be a 20-minute answer. Why? Because the way my mind works, I have to go to the same steps every single time to get there, or else I will not be able to answer your question. So, there are certain things that just for me, I know that there's other persons that are better in those areas than I, but I'm not. And so, in order to secure my house, I have to go through those things, right? There's guys that do certain things as well. There's guys who don't like it to be as regimented. There's guys who want to be able to who don't necessarily say much at all, but when they say something, they're like, hey, please honor. If I don't say anything most of the time, please honor when I do say something. We all have different leadership styles, I guess you would say. But as far as being in control, it's not about control, it's about authority. All those things being said, the respect, the security, the affection, sex, all these different things we talked about, it's really about authority. um and making sure, once again, that we are learning correctly. What are we authorized to do, and having conversation. And even, here's a dreaded one now for the brothers more than for the sisters. Even sometimes you might need, regardless of if it's me or somebody else, find somebody every once in a while to talk to about your marriage. Have somebody that you got to be accountable to. Have somebody that, if they see something or hear something about you, they have the right to pull your coattails and be like, bro, we don't do that, or that don't look right, or sis, we don't do that, that don't look right. Or have somebody, that's something that, regardless of how well you're doing, we oftentimes, and brothers and sisters do it, but we make excuses not to do regular check-ins. And I think, well, not I think, I know the Bible says that older brothers should be telling us how to do stuff, and older sisters. So all of us should have somebody that, not just only they can talk to, but specifically even about your marriage, or even about your single life right now, becoming married, whatever the case might be. Everybody should have somebody they can go to, and that person has full authority, or, well, whatever authority you've given them, to speak into your life and make sure this stuff's going together. But I know we're running out of time. Brother Omar, did you still? I see you, Sister Listen, too, with your hands been up. Brother Omar, did you still have something? I know your hand was up earlier.
I was just going to comment on the fact that you was talking about the control piece. As far as control, like you hit it right on the nail for the most part. It becomes whether or not you're being in submission with what Yah has in your life. And your helpmeet will support you in whatever it is that you would need to be supported in. I can only speak to that because of things that I've had in my life and my relationship. My wife taught me how to be a little more tender about how I speak to people and a little less straightforward and address things properly. She's also taught me that, my way is not always the best way. Whatever the help me is there for, that's what they're there for, whether it be financing, if they're better with finances, and you allow them to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
You allow them to be in their place, in their role. That's just me personally, how I feel about it. Like, at the end of the day, you want to look at it as authority and power and control, then you need to test that with what God's word says. If that's something that you struggle with, or you struggle with that, you need to go to prayer. You need to be in prayer with brothers and so forth and so on. Because once you become in submission to what Yah has in your life, and whatever that may look like. I know that I'm not necessarily one of those brothers that's like always, hey, what's up? But I do apply myself to places that I'm called to. And it's not always to be in the group of others. It's sometimes I'm legitimately alone to be in prayer, to be in perfect submission with what he has for me in that prayer session. or maybe I'm supposed to go out to somebody random and put something on their plate. You know what I mean? Anything, whatever it's called. But what I'm saying is at the end of the day, when you have a wife, she's submitted to the things of Yah by her being submitted to you. And whatever you need, whether it be like a reminder, like, hey, you're not being so kind.
I love, and I'm not trying to interrupt you. I just want to say you stay on it, because this right here, please listen up, because what you're saying is powerful. Because a lot of persons, and I didn't even talk about that tonight, but that's powerful, because we often only talk about submission as far as like, you know, what makes us feel okay. But like submission, if she's really submitted to the mission, some of that is calling you out from time to time too, because she wants to see you be the best version of yourself.
Like, you know, just in general, just the little things. All the little things may count, and we don't hold weight to. My wife definitely allowed me and taught me how to love in a very different way. Like, I was always raised on survival of the fittest, or you have to be the strongest. And my wife taught me that there's difference in being strong, like with her meekness, showing me that there's strength in her meekness and her tenderness and how she deals with things, her hospitality. These are all things that my wife has showed me, which also drew me closer to Yah and his word, dealing with the Psalms, dealing with the issues of the heart. Whatever that case may be, if you're not dealing with these things, these are all things that we need to deal with as brothers and sisters. Let me not stray off track. But what I was saying is that for me, we learn the ways of the heathen. I can tell you that from, you know, just my personal experiences. You touched on, you know, the things that we look at in the world. I don't like wearing rings. I feel like my word should be what it is. If I say I'm going to be married to someone, I need to be that way at all times. Not when I'm having a ring or, you know, yes, ma'am, I'm married. I'm a married man. I'm loyal to my wife. I'm submitted to my wife. If these things don't come to heart while you're dealing in everyday situations, you're having a problem, because you're supposed to be looking at them as sisters anyway. Any woman that you come in encounter with, any brother that you come in encounter with, that's how you're supposed to address them first. And if I'm wrong, by all means, but I don't think I'm wrong about this. At any rate, the point of the matter is that marriage is supposed to be submitted to the Father first. And if you ain't praying about it, you ain't praying with this person, y'all not both talking about how you can improve and being in the kingdom's not going to be in your home, because you are out of order. And being in perfect submission with each other is giving glory to God, right? Giving glory to the Most High, because anything he put together, made nothing set it apart. If he honestly had brought this together, this is what it is. You become one flesh. You become one person. Like you said, you never know your person as well as Yah has known us. But we grow every day. There are bonds being broken. There are things in our heart being taken away, turned off, and we're being made new. And this is something that as far as married couples and couples that are seeking to be married should understand that this is serious business. Serious business. Because when you're dealing with this stuff and you get married out of order, you start saying, oh, you know, why you put this woman in my life? Why you put this man in my life? There's things he's showing you in that person that he put in your life that you need to deal with sometimes. Anyway, neither here nor there. Just in my personal opinion, I think it should start with the submission to Yah and his word. And if it doesn't start there, you're going to always have the problem.
Amen. Thank you very much. Excellent. Sister Alyssa, did you have a question still?
Shalom. How is everybody? Hope y'all having a great night. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So I kind of have a two-part question. I know we are short on time. There's a lot of things I would like to touch on, but we can save that for a later date. So part one of the question is more so about perspective rather than a personal question. And then part two is more so of a question about preparation. So in my walk with the Most High, I don't know if you know this, Pastor Kofi, but January 1st made a year that I came into truth, and I came across your live, and I gave my life to the Most High. All praise.
All praise.
So with that being said, not too long ago, I submitted myself to him and gave him full access. With that being said, although it hasn't been a great deal of time, I would like to think that I have what you might call an intimate relationship with spirit, with Rock Hakadash.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the question is more so for the wives' perspectives, since I know that I haven't had a great deal of time as far as being one with Yahweh and giving him not even I don't even know if I would label it as a great deal. I feel like it's a short deal of time that I've given him full access, right? So I know I need more time with him and, to continue to grow as a wife of the Most High. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, for the wives, how did you know when you were ready to give access to your earthly husband in the same sense that you submitted to the Most High?
Okay.
And if nobody is able to answer that right now, that's okay.
No, that's fine. Elder Amr, are you still on, babe? Are you available right now? I know she's busy right now. Okay. I'll give one more. I don't.
Sorry, I'm driving.
Okay. Oh, if you're available, you can. I think it'd be great to start with you if you're available.
Just how did you know when you were ready?
Yeah, how did you? So, I guess my question is, I just, it's more so of wanting perspective from a wife, and I know that I'm not ready as far as being a wife to an earthly husband, but I guess just how did you know when you were ready to submit and give full access to an earthly husband in the same sense that you gave access to the Most High?
I'm not sure.
We can come back another day.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I just knew it wasn't
spirit led.
I had been, well, yeah, it was spirit led. It was, the spirit spoke to me on the day that I met Kofi. But I had been working on myself. I had gone through some things personally, and I felt the need to work on myself. I had, done the self work. I, kind of discovered who I am, and gone through some really tough healing, gone through some, prayer sessions that led to questions being answered about, why I was so controlling, and my fear issues, and issues of abandonment, and just opening my heart. And my heart was so open that by the time I met Kofi, I had actually given up on the idea. I had been praying for it, and then I kind of gave up for the idea. And then I was out, and I was actually doing something completely different. And I saw him, and it was kind of like, it was weird because I didn't see his physical body. I saw his, I must have seen his spiritual body, because he seemed perfect to me when I saw him. I had this image of what my husband would look like, and it was always kind of like a dark figure, no real detail about it. And then he came, and he seemed like perfect. and I never felt like somebody was like perfect. And I, I saw him, and then I walked around and saw him again, and then I was headed out. I was getting on the train to go back to go to hang out with some people, some friends. I, was going after work to have like happy hour or something like that. And I had turned to go, and the spirit said, if you leave, you'll regret this for the rest of your life. And so I went back, and I didn't know what I was going to say or what I was going to do. And when I first looked out, it looked like he had left because he had moved from where he was. And I saw him, and I walked up to him. He was sitting down reading a newspaper. And I know this is probably a really long story. But
That's okay.
And I, I didn't know how to approach a guy or anything like that. I just said hi, and he seemed unmoved. And so I was just like, he said, hello. He didn't even look at me. He just kept looking at his paper. And I just stood there like I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I got to get out of here. And then finally, he started engaging conversation with me and asked me if I had found what I was looking for, because I had been looking for, I, was looking to buy a computer from somebody from Craigslist is why I was there. But it wasn't what I was expecting. So and I was like, no. And I started explaining that really, really fast to him and why I was there and all this. And then finally I just said, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend? And then he got really shocked and froze. And then he goes, no. He goes, no, I don't. And he stands up and, introduced himself, and, the rest is history. I don't know. That was a long story, though.
I love that. Did you find what you were looking for? That was the perfect question. Because now you can say most definitely. Thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate it. So my next question is about preparation, and I am going to say trigger warning on this. So it does have to do with the more intimate sexual aspect of marriage, and more so, I guess, for the men's side. I guess it could be considered both sides, but anyways. So I have had, sexual trauma, quite a lot, and I've been celibate for about 2.5 years now. And I don't really, we're all human, and the thing is, I haven't had any desire to be intimate or physical. I'm not sure if that's just because of me healing from the trauma and then reassessing my life and giving my life to the Most High and then making that commitment to be celibate. I honestly, when I made the commitment, I kind of had this idea that I'm just never going to have sex again. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Even saying that right now, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't really have any desire in that sense. I have very few moments where I feel like I would love a hug or to have some type of physical touch, but not on a deeper level. So I guess the question, as far as preparation, would that be considered something that I would need to prepare before the marriage, or is that something that would be considered something that could work out after you're already married, or during the engagement?
So
I'm not really sure how to ask the question.
no, that's a great. So I don't know. Before I jump in, because I'm not a sister, I'll once again start off. If you feel led to do so, babe, did you have anything to answer as far as that is concerned?
I would just say that the desire and all that will come back. Once it's like, I don't want to say it's like riding a bike, but the desire will come back. And sorry for me laughing. I think it's more of a nervous. I think it's more of a nervous laughter than whatever. But I think if you, everybody's going to be different, and you may feel the desire to, cleanse yourself of different things, pray about different things. But the physical part will definitely come back, and you can learn a whole lot of things, and you can experiment together once you're with your partner, and hopefully it'll be someone you can speak very plainly with about it, and say exactly how you feel, what you want, different things like that, and that part shouldn't be an issue. I don't think there's anything that you have to prepare for outside, because you're going to be wanting to please that individual husband, your individual husband. So there's nothing you can prepare for before you kind of meet him and know what he wants or needs.
Amen.
Right.
And because of time, we're a little over time, so I'm going to go ahead and let us go. But I just real quick, and we can talk offline with Sister Lissa, Elder Almond, myself. We can have a conversation offline, because something like that I would want obviously Elder Almond to be present for. But when you say you don't have to go deep into it, I'm just going to ask. I mean, so if you're not comfortable answering, let me know. But when you say the trauma, are you talking about trauma that was dealt with as far as like from a child trauma? Or are we talking about like somebody doing something that they should have been doing to you in the relationships you were in, or even something else?
So I'm pretty open and honest about things like this because I've already kind of moved through it
Okay.
as far as like the emotional aspect of it goes. Um, but I did have something happen to me when I was younger that I don't really remember. And, with trauma, sometimes it can be blocked out.
Right.
And spirit kind of led me in the direction to, I know that it was a family member, like a older cousin, but I can't really remember. The first incident that I can recall was when I was 14, and it happened with a stranger. And my first, relationship was when I was 14, and it was with a predator. I didn't know at the time, right? Because I wasn't getting love and attention and things like that in the home. So
Okay.
I had this person that was like, you're beautiful. I love everything about you. You're so funny. You're so smart. All of that stuff. But with that being said, I have been active sexually since I was like 14, and I'm 31 now. So I've only been abstinent for about 2.5 years. So I think that overactive active sexual aspect comes from the result of the trauma, because you can be on either end of the stick where you're just like, no, don't touch me, or you just kind of, overly activate that area of your life. And so that's what happened to me. And then I got outside of that. So now it's more so of, if my husband finds me and he openly states that physical touch and things of that nature is one of his love languages, would that be a thing to where if he's not able to compromise in that area and work with me as far as taking our time, then I would assume that could be an automatic no on my end. Like, okay, then you're not the husband for me.
Right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
You had spoken on this the other day about women need affection, and men they need sex, right? That is and respect, really. That is like the same thing. So yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna be talking in circles.
No, it's okay. I get what you're saying, and with the 6 basic human needs and how men usually on the spectrum are going to be here, women will be here. Yeah. So as far as that part, yeah. So I get it. But yeah, so I was just asking. I still say that some of it, I'm gonna, out of respect even for you, even some things that you say you're pretty open and honest. I think there's some things that obviously we should talk about offline. So Elder Alma, of course, will be there. Myself, and then what however Holy Spirit leads, we can have conversation, or whoever you feel safe with, of course. If somebody who's ministering on staff is in your area or whatever, they can talk to you as well. I would say right now, like Elder Alma was saying, she was saying it will come back. I would say also too, just think about the fact that there's a healing. There's still healing that needs to go on. You're not about. First of all, I was actually very thankful, because some persons who go through what you go through, they keep bouncing back on both sides of the spectrum. So you're actually been consistent. You said 2.5 years, I believe, right? So 2.5 years is actually very great, and congratulations, first of all. Like, that's actually very worthy accomplishment. That's something to be proud of. And now the thing is that during those times, and healing and chastity, et cetera, and getting back to yourself, and even loving on your children and things like that, and coming to the community, that's something that we should make sure that we take care of. We should take notes. So whoever's dealing with her in your area, if you don't mind, I can't remember off the top of my head, but let's make sure that we're aware of that and checking in on Sister Alyssa as much as we can. Also, too, though, it's very clear too, that there's trauma that happens and things to talk it over with. You said you've talked through a lot of it, you pushed through a lot of it, and right now, one of the best things for you, like you said, might just be, hey, right now, I'm okay with being myself, not over sexualized, not being misused, not going through abusive stuff, not going through, I haven't figured out myself, but I'm still trying to perfect everything for everyone else. Right now, you're in a position to where, even through your artwork and stuff like that, like you have different ways and different outlets and things like that. So I would, okay, I'm gonna talk to you about certain things offline, but I would say that it seems like you're in a pretty safe place right now, like to where you can develop and be nurtured and grow and be in prayer and stuff. And once again, if you need to talk to somebody about some things from time to time, but you feeling like you don't need to have sex is not a bad thing, and that's where you are right now. And if that means that, if you were to come into contact with somebody and you haven't healed, your body is your temple, and you need to make sure your temple is clean anyways. And if somebody's there that you feel that certain thing, maybe that's what'll help you there. But that's kind of me speculating and stuff like that. And right now, like I said, I know we're over time, so I'm not going to prolong it. We'll have our next live session for the marriages on the second Saturday of February, and then the following Sunday we'll do the same thing on Patreon. We'll have the link and everything, the Zoom link, and you guys can come and participate, and we'll do some Q&A and some conversation. Glad to see all of you on. Shalom, Sister Hunter. I think his last name is Hunter, right? How you doing? So we're thankful and grateful to have. Oh yeah, we got another Hunter. Excuse me. Well, Sister Hunter, at least for a little bit, but. Love y'all to life. Thank y'all for being on. Great questions. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your sincerity. And hopefully this is something that works out. And like we said, it's not just only for married folks, so to speak. If you can see, even by discussing this stuff, we help ourselves in being so-called single. Once again, we're all married to the Most High. But even this kind of conversation, it helps us to start seeing certain things and growing and being there for each other and learning. So thank you for everybody who shared. Love y'all to life. I won't hold you any later than this. Those who can make it for early rise of Bible study session, I'll see you guys early in the AM. Other than that, we'll see you guys for the live session. And remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom or Shabbat Shalom, whichever one you're using. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.
SOC, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.